Okay, so I've beaten Minecraft numerous times in the past, because let's face it, you're not a true Minecraft fan if you've never slayed the Ender Dragon at least once in your lifetime. I'm proud to say I've done the deed at least a fifth of a handful of times. But playing Minecraft Survival on its own can get relatively boring, especially if you've been playing for over 9 years straight. So I ditched the regular way to play and added many unnecessary rules because I like putting myself through pain. The rule set goes as follows: I cannot sprint, I cannot jump, I have to play on the lowest field of view, which is 30, I have to play on an amplified world, this is especially painful, I cannot enchant anything, I only have 3 lives to do so. I gotta give myself some kind of leeway in this challenge. Originally I was gonna add that I couldn't place any blocks either, but that proved to be too much. So yeah, this will be fun. Fun for you guys anyway. Don't even ask how I'm feeling, it doesn't matter and nobody cares, this is the internet. Because I'm a funny man, my seed for this challenge is 6969 because I couldn't think of anything else and my world name is Year. Let's give it a go. Immediately off the bat, I am disgusted with my field of view and already regretting this. I play Quake Pro 99.999% of the time, and auto jump was on, so I already broke rule 2. Fantastic. I rectified that mistake. It's business as usual with this game. Grab some wood, make a little room to maneuver around, when I remember the fact that I made this world amplified and found myself over 200 blocks in the air. 200 blocks or the stratosphere. It honestly doesn't even matter after a certain point. So be that as it may, I had to start digging down 1 block at a time and make sure that I didn't fall to my death and waste a life, so I played it very carefully. It was the longest 15 minutes of my entire monotonous life. Did I mention that I like putting myself through pain? Now this is where the big brain strats come in. As mentioned beforehand, I cannot jump. Well, I could technically. I could sprint and turn my field of view up as well, but that's besides the point. The challenge calls for me to not jump, you see. So to counteract that fact and be able to maneuver around, I take the infinite amount of cobblestone that I mined up and made some stairs, because exercise is on the agenda with this world and nothing else. 6 cobblestone makes 4 sets of stairs. Not a terrible trade-off all things considering, just a bad one. It just so happens that I found a coal deposit. This piece of information isn't actually all that important, but the space left over just so happened to allow me to live in a hidey hole like a caveman. I will draw stick figurines and YouTube URLs leading to the Rick Astley song on the walls, "Never Gonna Let You Down, My Friends." In said hidey hole, I made a stairway to a strip mine. If it comes down to either making another one of these or watching paint dry, I'd rather make the staircase, but the fact that I even thought to make the choice says enough about making staircases. Look at this little flower that I planted, this is important for later. It is imperative that every single direction that I travel be in an absolute straight line, otherwise my OCD becomes unhappy. I get rewarded with a deposit of 9 diamonds, W. You know, being underground isn't actually all that bad if you exclude the various monsters that love to inhabit every square inch of free space down here. I hate them all because they turn my food into dust and I'm left hungry, angry, and injured. Hangered? Nope, forget I said that. Hangry and injured, that's what we're going with. I don't want to see one damn comment about this ever in my life, and if I do, I'm gonna tell you to shut the f up. Do not test me. To mitigate my food crisis and to make sure that I eat every 20 minutes, I craft myself the single greatest fishing pole in a 15-mile radius, should I mention the fact that I'm the only person in a 15-mile radius. Fishing in the rain can either sound peaceful or disturbing depending on who you ask. I'm more on the peaceful side personally, especially when you pull up Nemo out of the deep blue. Or maybe this is Marlin. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. Rest in pieces, Nemo. You were a great portion of an appetizer. Watching food cook was the most exciting thing that had happened in the last 2 hours that I had been playing. So much so that I had spent the next 6 minutes just standing there in awe at the display of craftsmanship and culinary art projected to my 2 eyes. Just let me have my moment. I totally didn't go to the bathroom and grab some water. Despite fish being the most reliable source to fill my stomach, it gets kind of bland and boring after a while. A space was required to develop a farm, and I picked the absolute finest spot to make it happen. I mean, we got no source of clean water. We have a floating mountain just waiting above us to crash down and ruin every single ounce of hard work that's becoming of this tiny land. Direct sunlight is overrated anyway. Hook, line, and sinker for every little stinker. My diamond pickaxe in hand, yes, I did use 3 of my 9 diamonds, I stormed back down the infinite staircase and collected some obsidian to venture into the place that houses all of my nightmares. Another one was to be created when I stepped through. Not an ounce of the color blue in sight, plus no way out. I can dig out of here, but the crisis pertaining to the lack of the objective greatest color that ever existed makes the situation stifling. Or maybe it's the fumes from the fire, but I'm more inclined to believe the aforementioned. Call it fate, call it destiny, I don't really care. The very same block that I broke my iron pickaxe on was the block that gave directions to some kind of area not condensed in a receptacle that would barely fit my room in. Of course, I brought a backup iron pickaxe. This is literally my first time playing Minecraft in about 3 weeks. Of course I'm paranoid. By some stroke of luck, a nether fortress revealed itself to me not 50 blocks away from the portal. I also just used up the rest of my luck for the entire decade, so I guess I'm not winning any sort of giveaways anytime soon. Not like I had any luck with them anyway. I built a bridge over there. It looked like shit, but I didn't really care because I was in hell, and hell does not care about me. It was actually weird seeing a baby zombie pigman. I'd always heard the rumors, but I never believed them to be true. Transversing a nether fortress is like transversing a strip mine. Everywhere is a damn maze. You get lost at every turn imaginable. Because of a neat trick I found off of a YouTube video in 2013, I have a system in place to never get lost no matter where I go. It's so simple that even a preschooler can understand this method, so about a quarter of the player base. Placing torches on a specific side indicates that you are traveling either to or away from the entrance. For me, when a torch is on the left, I'm running further into my nonsensical adventures. When they're on the right, I'm taking the coward's way out because dying is like making a yo mama joke in the year 2021. It's ridiculous, useless, and nobody cares when it's presented, and they move on with life. If I'm being brutally honest with you, blazes are the bane of my existence in this challenge. They fly away, leave me injured, and steal all of my food. They are worse than common criminals. At least those guys don't fly away. I suppose wither skeletons can represent them. There's probably a metaphor for something like that somewhere, but I can't figure out what it is. So it was back to the ocean to reel in more fish. And before you ask, because I know what's on your mind, no, I did not find any more clownfish. Please do not comment about my legion of beds stashed in my inventory. I can't even carry one bed in my back pocket in real life, let alone 21 of them. I'm not kidding when I say that back pockets in video games are literal pocket dimensions. How is this even conceivable? Mojang should put a warning somewhere on the screen that says objects in vision are closer than they appear when you turn the field of view down to 30. Every step near this lava pit felt like I was going to have a date with death. The same can be said with this witch. I'm not even sure how this thing found its way down here. I know I locked the doors upstairs, but me, right? Trying to annihilate blazes without running, jumping, and with a low field of view is a form of torture unto itself. I asked for this, however, seeing as though it wasn't so many minutes ago where I said that I liked pain. This, however, is ridiculous. My satirical manners finally caught up with me, and I ended up falling thanks to a regular skeleton. Yeah, a regular skeleton. Unfortunately, I was not recording this segment. It's like when you watch or host a stream and the mic is muted and you don't even realize that fact until you're like 97 minutes in. It was that kind of pain. 2 lives remain. Collecting and reclaiming my inventory almost got me killed again thanks to a battalion of blazes guarding my inventory. I had 1 heart left before I managed to find a secure place to heal. With enough blaze rods in hand, I storm out of there praying I never have to go back in and embark on the second step of getting Eyes of Ender. Collecting them is kind of a pain in the ass, seeing as though Enderman spawns are abysmally terrible and Ender Pearls only drop about half of the time anyway. By the time I was finished collecting enough ender pearls to feel comfortable venturing out into the wilderness again, I just wanted to go to bed. Those tall, dark, not handsome brick for brains ass ate up my iron stash, my food stash, and a lot of time, but I was able to make diamond pants, so everything was fine. Never thought I'd actually say this, but I was starting to get used to only walking around. I mean, granted, the 30 field of view is a feature that should absolutely rot in the deepest depths of hell, but using staircases to get around terrain isn't actually all that terrible once you get used to it. I didn't like it per se, but it was manageable. I don't know if this is prevalent in all amplified worlds, but the body of water separating myself from many faraway lands actually gave me an advantage. The Ender Eye was flying toward a gargantuan body of water with very little land space in between. 2 things. 1, it saved my usage of the Ender Eyes. 2, I can keep my several thousand-pound sack of staircases and beds in my back pocket, and just look at all that meat. My God. 'Twas a nice peaceful adventure, sailing the 7 seas, though I've only ever heard of 1. I wonder where the other 6 could be. Trailing the floating eyeballs at night is a tale destined to be told for many generations to come. Tell your children to tell their children that Deerwills is a maniac. The end. How did you like my story? I personally give it a 5 out of 10. Comment below your score. The Ender Eye eventually stopped at land, and this was where another nightmare came into play. No, the Nether does not house all of my nightmares, apparently. The foreboding questions of how much further do I need to go, and do I have enough resources to actually make it there? Because I was either underground or in the Nether torturing myself for a good few hours. The short-term memory function of my brain decided to get rid of the vital aspect of the amplified world that I was playing on. Subconsciously, luckily, I remembered to stock up on essentials like stairs, food, and other items, but the magnitude of the terrain made me question whether this trip would be fulfilled or not. And climbing up the side of a 200-block mountain put a damper on one's resources, regardless of what you got. At the end of the day, however, it is a mountain and plenty of cobble is around, so it's not like I'm going in completely unprepared. Luckily for me, and all of you, an Ender Eye disappeared straight underground not too long after I got off my boat, and I still had plenty of resources to be fine, all things considering. So I dug straight down. 2 by 1 and not a block more, I am done making staircases for all eternity. Staircases. Strongholds, like nether fortresses, are mazes, and I easily got lost within its walls. It was quite a sad sight. I can't even fathom how some players find the portal so quick. I was convinced after a certain point that I was just walking in circles. It was 15 minutes of mindless walking around like a zombie, but I managed to find the portal. Now I'm glad I made almost 30 Ender Eyes, since at this point I only had about half of them left. I entered through the portal and dug my way out to the view of the void of emptiness, which actually resembles my heart in a lot of ways. The end and I are not so different in that aspect. My archery skills were worse than a blind man's, but I managed to snipe all of the end crystals with way too much trouble. The enclosed ones needed a bit more ingenuity. Initially, I thought of a spiral staircase of sorts leading up to there, but the Ender Dragon's magic was absolutely mental and did a lot of damage every time I stepped into it. And it's a staircase. You know my opinion of staircases. So to counteract that obstacle, I needed a way to maneuver around without staying motionless for too long. Then, of course, I remembered that Endermen were literally everywhere around me, so I slaughtered some and used their pearls to yeet myself up to the ledge, bust the iron gates encapsulating the crystals, and yeeted back down. Once both were taken care of, it was simply a matter of bullying the dragon into submission. It does not make any sort of sense whatsoever that beds explode when you try to lay in them, but then again I can carry literal tons of cobblestone staircases in my back pocket because video games. The fire almost killed me and I accidentally jumped again. I managed to break rule 2 twice in one challenge, once at the very beginning and once at the very end. Go me. I was getting my money's worth out of all these beds and made sure that it at least dictated the last shot onto the Ender Dragon. Even though I technically broke rule 2 twice, neither instance was on purpose. I successfully beat Minecraft with a bunch of unnecessary rules. Ladies and gentlemen, my heart feels full. If you enjoyed this video or learned something, consider leaving it a like. Or if you didn't learn anything or didn't enjoy it, leave it a dislike. And if you haven't already and you like what you see on your channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. It's free and you can always change your mind if you want. Have a good one. Peace out.